Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Art of the Feminine podcast. I'm Shannon Port, and today it is Sunday, November 11th, and I really am so excited to be here with you for this Sunday morning broadcast of Jupiter in Sagittarius, and we have some really big things to talk about today. And so thank you for being here. I also want to say welcome to all of the new subscribers. There seems to be a good inflow of people coming in since the last video, and it's so great to have you. I really, really look forward to sharing with you and getting to know you in the comment sections. And so we do live streams once a week on this platform. And if you hit the notification bell, you'll get a notification when we go live. I don't, as of right now, upload videos. We do everything live. So if you want to take part or watch as we are, oh, and let me know if you can hear me. It looks like, yes, thank you, Azara. I appreciate that. Good to see you. So yes, so it's good to have you. Hit the notification bell. Thank you also for all the likes and shares. It really helps. It helps keeping the videos moving, and with the algorithms, it's very much a help. So I appreciate all of the likes and shares, and especially really, really touched by the comments that I have been receiving over the past few weeks. Seems like there's been an inflow of people opening their hearts and really sharing insight into your reality and your life. And I've had the opportunity to go back and forth with so many new people. That is really where it's at. It's amazing. And so you can't leave, if you're on the live stream, you cannot leave. I don't think you can leave a comment, but you can come back. And as of right now, I'm pretty much getting to every comment. I can still manage it. So I'm having fun doing that. And so let me see. There was one other thing. Yes, I wanted to let you know that I have a new calendar on my website, and this is brand new. I've never had it before. So I I'm available for personal readings and mentoring sessions. That's a big part of the work I do. But you can now go to artofthefeminine.com. I have the link in the description box, and you can book an appointment yourself, and it will take you through the process, and then we'll get to meet in person. You'll just book the appointment and we'll show up and we'll talk on Skype or on the phone. So that if you have a problem, just let me know. But that being said, I am really honored to be here today. I want to remind everyone that this filter and the information that I share is coming through my lens of perception. And so it's just what I'm able to offer from the work that I do and from the observations I have and from coming into contact with many people and doing research my whole life and just really diving in deep and enjoying this work. But that being said, my view is not the only view. And so that's why it's fun in the comment sections to hear from you guys. It's funny, or to be challenged, or ask for clarification. There, every now and then we're moving fast and I'll say something and it might hit you the wrong way. Ask for clarification because it helps me to know where I could get a little clear myself. So, all right. I'm going to give you an idea how we'll go today. I'm going to break it into 3 sections. It's 11:11. Today is a portal of truth. There is a lot happening on the planet today. It's 11:11. 11:11 is known to be a portal or a stargate, oftentimes for the higher dimensional forces of our own mind and our own reality. And so it's on this day that we're kind of able to upgrade. We're able to upgrade the system that we're living in. We live in a system, and many people don't see it that way, but our solar system, our galaxy, our universe are a system just like our body. We live in a system, so how could we be one isolated part? It's the way Western medicine used to work, where we would just address one part of the body and cut and remove and do whatever we have to do to that part of the body to heal it, but without recognizing that we have thoughts, we have feelings, we have nervous systems, we have all of these systems work together. So we live in this system. Sagittarius is very much about recognizing the big picture. And we're going to talk about that. So what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about deception and what I mean by that, because the title of the video is The End of Deception. the end of deception. I almost wanted to throw betrayal in there too, but it to say the end of betrayal and deception, because we are entering a phase of growth in human consciousness where things are going to move fast. Sagittarius is a fire sign. Jupiter is at home in Sagittarius. It loves being in Sagittarius. Jupiter is going to conjunct the galactic center, the pleroma and womb of life of the Divine Mother, and bring tremendous downloads. The galactic center at 26 degrees Sagittarius represents the birth of the quintessence light or the solar light or the Christ force, the cosmic Christ force, whatever, which is a universal way of saying the divine light and spirit of human intelligence. As human beings, we have a very special role to play on this earth, because in alchemy, it's when we get to the level of being human that we are taking conscious initiations. We have free will, and we're interacting with both the light and the dark, and we're using that freedom of speech, of action, of thought to make choices that affect the whole in a very powerful way. Whereas, let's say that the mineral kingdom or the animal kingdom or the plant kingdom is more plugged into this web of life, where they're going with the seasons. They're going with Gaia and her seasons as she interacts with the sun. And they're not necessarily making individual choices. They're connected to the whole, which is a very beautiful thing. But the power of free will really comes as we become a human being in our evolution. And so we have an important role to play. So we'll talk a little bit about deception, then we'll move into the wisdom of Sagittarius, the archetype of Sagittarius. The correspondence is what Sagittarius means in alchemy. And then I called this a meditation because I want to talk about a message that I really want to bring in and solidify on this platform. It's something I'm working with in my work at Light Body Yoga, at Art of the Feminine. And it's really, I believe, a paradigm that can really help us move forward into a new way of relating to each other. And it's so special. It's so simple, and yet I look forward to just going into it with you, kind of downloading it, spreading it, and I hope to start every week, every video with this information to get it going. So nice to see you. Nice to see all of you guys. I'm starting to recognize some of you, and it's really nice. Portal of Truth. So today there's a big meditation happening in Washington, D.C. So some of the truthers and the disclosure movement are in Washington, D.C. So I'm not sure exactly where, but I know it's a huge meditation that's taking place. There are mass meditations taking place all over the planet. In every country, there are groups of people meditating today for truth and for disclosure of all the things that have been hidden from our awareness. And I did some writing about that. It's pretty intense, but I'm going to actually read what I wrote. We're asking for disclosure of all different things, of hidden technologies, of our space travel and all the advances we've made in space, of our connections possibly with intelligent life from off our planet, but from other planets, other systems, all kinds of things. We could go way into that. Energy, the way we have energy on this planet, and even medical technology, as well as abundance. Sagittarius is about abundance, and it's about truth and freedom and sovereignty, about honesty, and it's about the mysteries. It's about higher education. It's about the ancient wisdom that comes from our galactic center, which is the womb that we came from. And it's about connecting human consciousness with that wisdom so that we can live in a higher way. And that being said, I'm just going to slow down, take a breath, and drug prohibition policy. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'll get into that. Creation with integrity out of the quintessence high. Oh, yes. And the quintessence of what we know is Sophia, the divine Sophia, the creatrix and the giver of life. And so she's located in Sagittarius. All right. So Sagittarius deals with the courts. It deals with the high courts. So when we've had a lot of activity in the courts and the Supreme Courts in the United States, We're getting ready to see a lot of activity in the courts and with injustice taking place in that way. No doubt things are going to move. We're in this fire sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about verification, it's alchemy, and it's purification. So there's going to be a lot of purging by fire. It's the alchemy of fire that burns off what's no longer needed, that shows us the truth. And it's like the active sexual principle. It's very active. Whereas Sagittarius in Jupiter in Scorpio was deep. It was deep down in the underworld, in the underbelly, and it was really churning to bring up some revelations. Scorpio being about power, about sexuality, misuses of power, misuses of sexuality, and about secret wisdom as well, secrets, crisis. We had Jupiter go through Scorpio, and now today's Jupiter is at 0 degrees Sagittarius. Now Jupiter is going to move into a much more active, fiery placement where things are gonna start to move. Also rules publishing, foreign lands, borders, immigrants, foreign relations, higher learning, mystery schools, space, because it rules breaking through boundaries. This Sagittarius is about the new frontier. It's about breaking out, crossing crossing borders, and exploring new lands, new philosophies, and new peoples, new everything. So here we are today on 11/11, and we'll start to talk a little bit about deception. Some of the areas where we have, and I've said this already, but I'm just going to say it again, some big deception in the areas of technologies. We've had advanced technologies that could be helping our planet, helping us to clean the planet, helping us to end starvation, end many illnesses. These things have been suppressed because of financial. And it doesn't take a lot of intellect to understand that. It always blows me away how the laugh factor, the giggle factor about when people say these things, because if you can't see it, you'd have to be living under a rock to know that we advance technologically right now. I think it's 10 times every day, exponentially. Our capacity on technology, on tech, on the internet, and on the tech that we use, on AI is increasing tenfold every day. But yet certain archaic technologies are just never we're never getting rid of them. Fossil fuels, in certain medical technologies, certain ways that we address things are ancient, and we know that it doesn't add up. There's a disparity between this great advancement in technology that's not serving the basics. And so we'll get into that a little bit more. We most likely, and I'm a big believer in this, we have space technology that we haven't even begun to unveil for the public. It's going to come quick now, especially with Jupiter and Sagittarius, but there's all kinds of things off planet too. This is not my area of expertise, so I'm not going to break down all those things, but it's a fascinating topic to explore. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of really good, solid, legit resources that you can turn to. However, I feel like we're all going to be introduced to it very soon. Resources, the resources on Earth are abundant. Look at how nature turns over her crops every year. Nature never stops giving. The feminine in Gaia never stops giving. The feminine never stops birthing, nor does it need to. It naturally knows how to feed its young, how to take care of its own inhabitants. Now, we've seen some abuse and some exploitation, but that's all coming up, and that's not the percentage of people who deliberately want to abuse our resources is small compared to the whole. So that being said, it's going to be time, I think I wrote in the description, to feed the hungry, heal the sick, and with the North Node in Cancer, really, really bring back the mother principle. The galactic core, the mother principle, is in Sagittarius. When Saturn was at the galactic core in 2017, now Jupiter is going to go in there and fuel it with abundance. There's going to be, and we may even see the solar event. If you're aware of the transformation that takes place through the sun and through the energies that come through from the galactic center into our sun and from the great central sun, we know that there are waves of this quintessence light that come from the galactic center. And with Jupiter now getting ready to, in this next year and a half, go through sacred union with the galactic core, we could definitely see that wave of light that we have our eye on. I work with those teachings a lot with light body yoga. It's a little bit more of the metaphysical teachings and the esoteric teachings. If it doesn't resonate, no big deal. We're probably going to see some changes, and we're probably all going to wake up pretty quick. So resources, Jupiter rules spiritual wealth and material wealth. Jupiter rules wealth, and because of some of this deception, there's no reason for there to be as much poverty and pain and suffering on this planet as we have. For us to not ask questions and demand answers and actively participate in healing that is dumbing us down to the point of let's say there's some higher level civilization that's looking at us that is appalled that we're not able to take care of each other, because Sagittarius also rules brotherly love and sisterly love. It rules brotherhood, and we are a family. And when we get into the esoteric teachings around Sagittarius, we'll talk about why we need to really start to understand that. All right. So I'm going to probably do a little reading too. So transformation, it also rules education, higher education, foreign affairs. We said that, immigrants, borders, the unity of the human spirit, download of spiritual truth. It rules the mystery schools, and it rules that wisdom. So the mystery schools, and there are mystery schools still to this day on this earth. The real ones are very, very, are kept in silence for a reason. There's a saying, a little bit of knowledge is dangerous. And it's very true, because what we're seeing with some of the dark energies on the planet in the form is kind of a form of black magic, or a form of misusing of the mystery teachings, taking them, inverting them, and using them to create bondage. Now, all is fair in love and war. And so if our consciousness took a turn in that direction, we just have to make up for it. We need to make up for it. We need to make up for it now by getting really smart and by having reverence for the great mystery of life and the great truths that are to be revealed. Sagittarius rules truth with a capital T. So as we mentioned, the solar event could be very real during this time with Jupiter and Sagittarius. Verification, ascension, temperance, mixing, purification. All right, so I'm gonna read a little bit about what I wrote. And it's pretty direct. It's very Sagittarius style. I actually have Mars in Sagittarius right at the great attractor, so I have a pretty strong placement of my drive and my desire forces in Sagittarius. There are many levels of truth from the ever-changing picture show that we live in of 3D truth. So there are many levels of truth. Just remember, we're not all tapped into the same level of truth. We each have our own consciousness, and depending on our vibration, our frequency you can only see what you know. So life is kind of a paradox. It's a trick. You can't see it unless you know it, and you can't know it unless you see it. And so it's up to us to make that great leap to, yeah, exactly, Wendy. It's up to us to make that great leap, and that's part of the adventure. Sagittarius rules the great adventure. So there are many levels of truth, from the ever-changing picture show of 3D truth to the more subtle and interdimensional levels of reality. We are connected to the cosmos. We are connected to the cosmos. Every individual unit of consciousness is connected to the whole cosmos, to not only our galactic core, but the great galactic core of all creation. Each one of us, the miracle of the human being is that as above, so below, as within, so without. We each have the key to the wisdom. Jupiter is considered to be the Lord of Lords, meaning it's the power of truth will set you free. Truth gives you material abundance, and it gives you spirit, but especially spiritual abundance. Um, because it rules publishing and exploration, some of the deception has come through publishing and having a strong hold on the information that circulates through society, because the human consciousness has been pretty much brainwashed and mind controlled. We don't ask questions. We're served up writing. There's the old saying, whoever wins the war writes the history. Well, we're living in various different timeline histories that have been written by the interests of those who won various wars, and we could go much deeper into that. But there's a lot of teachings that persuade us, and I would go even as far as saying manipulate us to just sit back and accept the narrative that we are taught, even the narrative that we are taught at school. And I wanted to say this because I was looking back to my own school days. I loved school. I love school. I love learning. I was a book type of person. I still, to this day, I read thousands of books. I always kind of went a couple grades ahead and I couldn't wait to get through. But at the same time, I had this, as much as I wanted to do well in school and get straight A's, I also had a complete um contradictory view of what I was taught. And I always could kind of see through things in a different way from the time I was a little kid. I mean, I questioned everything. I was raised Catholic. I went to all Catholic school way back in the day when it was still, I had the sisters were my teachers, and we had the priests and the monsignors. And when I was in second grade, I demanded to have an interview with who then became the bishop of our diocese. I went to Catholic school, and I remember with my tape recorder, and that shows you it was a long time ago. I got to have this interview with the bishop, and my question to him was, he had no idea why I just requested it, went through my teacher, my principal, and we got to this person. And I remember we sat down outside at the drinking fountain, and I asked him, I said, I wanted to be an altar boy. And of course, many of us did. And I wanted to be an altar boy. And I also wanted to, at that time, be a priest. Now, I also wanted to be an astronaut, but I was definitely had this calling to the spiritual life. So I thought in second grade, I wanted to be a priest. And at that time, I got laughed out of my religion class just for bringing that up. So I always had this desire to see through things and to understand why things we were taught were what they were. And I also had a strong connection with Mary Magdalene back when you just did not really mention her name. I remember being a really young girl and thinking about the Marys and thinking about the different gifts that they brought. So that's just a little background. I wanted to bring that in because one of the things that I had within me, which was not fun, was that I always asked questions and always wanted to know why I could kind of see through things to another reality. A big thing I remember asking questions about was, why were there starvation on this planet? I remember we would get these little things, to take home, these little boxes with pictures on with a little slit to put coins in to send money to the poor, in some country 2,000 miles away, 3,000 miles away, many thousand miles away. And I would think, why am I a first grader? I get it. I got it that it was nice that I could put in a few dimes and nickels to send to these people. But I was like, well, it felt like a sham to me that they are asking first graders at a private school to give their allowance money to feed the world when we have greater bodies that are in place to do this work. Now, I understand the spirit of Reckon. I was all over it. I really loved doing it. But I remember looking at those children in the pictures and thinking, something's not right here. Something about this is programming me to believe something about it that just didn't feel right. And to this day, I know now more than ever that there's no excuse that anyone go hungry on this planet. No excuse. We're going to talk more about that. And that's just my view, but I really believe that. So Jupiter is also the planet of love. Jupiter rules love, and it rules on the tree of life. It's the pillar of mercy. It represents healing through love, and it gives. It gives. It's the archer. It's the number 3. 3 represents the creative principle, fertility, and abundance. So these are just some of the correspondences with Jupiter. It represents the Trinity, which is an archetype of abundance. The Trinity archetype represents fertility and abundance. And so that archetype has been sort of undermined, but it's meant to be re-established in our collective psyches. So that being said, I'm just going to take a quick peek. Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to get to some of those things. Okay, so lifting the veil of betrayal and deception. We live in a cloud of deception. Human beings are programmed not to ask questions, or at least not to ask the important questions. Now, that's not everybody. Obviously, if you're here, you're probably a type that asks questions, but we ask questions, then we kind of forget about it. And we go back into that dumbed down, getting on with our own life, our own needs. We have an ego too. Sagittarius rules the alchemy of the ego, the transmutation of the ego. So we're not allowed to ask the important questions that pierce the veil. And then we have the laughed at factor. We get laughed at, we get ridiculed, we get called crazy, we get called conspiracy theorists, we get called everything under the sun if we question the narrative. People are so trained to obey that order that everyone's afraid of being called different. When you look at every great discovery, every great scientist, every great person who evolved our consciousness on earth, they were going absolutely against what was the accepted common belief paradigm at that time. You can go through history. It would be great if someone could just list some in the comment section. But people, awesome, Azra, that's nice. I believe it too. People who ask these questions tend to march to their own drum a little bit too. Obviously, we have things that go way too far, things that get a little crazy. But the reason is because everything has been compressed to the point where it's exploding now. That's why we see things that get a little carried away, because the compression of the emotions of people knowing that things aren't right is really built up. But this is a time when Jupiter's in Sagittarius, where it will be very hip to go against the mainstream narrative. We're crossing over into a new threshold. Millennials are there. They kind of get it, even though they have some of their own programming that they're dealing with. But then let me tell you, the generation under that, which is what my son falls into, I think he calls it Gen Z, they just, I can't explain it, but it's almost like you can't program them. And sometime I'll talk to you about some of the conversations I have with them. They're not numb, but they've seen so much, and they're just kind of taking a step back because they also watch so many video games and science fiction movies, and think they also, it's not a stretch for them at all to believe about some of these things we're talking about. I'm telling you, my 13-year-old isn't phased by any of it. When you talk about space travel or, civilizations off our planet, he doesn't, it's not even a big deal to him. He just assumes that that's the way it is because their picture's been a little bit bigger. Even they also they recognize the control. It's very interesting how, even though they're in it, this new generation coming up, because they've been so overstimulated that they've had to step back, and it's taught them to observe their environment around them. So I wanted to say, it's also always been so astounding to me how many highbrow intellectuals, scholars, business people, CEOs haven't even considered to look up or to investigate the system in which we live. And I'm talking, there's Earth, but we live in a solar system. I was always interested in astrology. It just came natural to me. And I spent most of my childhood sleeping outside in the summer. That was back in the days where you could just sleep outside in a tent, not in a tent. We would sleep on the grass and look at the stars and contemplate the satellites and the shooting stars in the Milky Way, and just connect with the cosmos. But so many people now, it's mind blowing how they consider it very just elementary, very uneducated to even ask questions or even think that there's anything going on with our psychology and the psychology of this solar system which we live in. It's just how many people have never looked up? Now, there are people that have, and I want to say that I've always been surprised. I've been to some dinner parties where I got to sit next to some people who are big in this 3D patriarchal world and have some fabulous conversations with men that it really shocked me. It was when I first started doing my Art of the Feminine work. I'm some bankers, some CEOs, some different people who were quite a bit more open than I would have expected. It's almost as if they knew something. But we have to shake this mentality that to look up and to look around and to understand the relationships, that the interplanetary relationships and the interpersonal relationships, that should not be contemplated or reflected upon. To say that it's silly, that's old, that's done. We're done. That's so out. In 2019, it's so out to not get it, to not jump into that level. But a lot of humanity is going to have to kind of be jolted. And remember, that's just coming through me, but I wanted to share that. So investigating the system that we're part of, it's like not investigating the earth. It's like not knowing that what percentage of people doesn't have food or running water. It's like we don't know. We're comfortable in ignorance. It can be bliss. But the thing is about Sagittarius, we're one big body. And if there are many cells in the body are sick, we are a sick being. And so it doesn't mean we need to get down or negative, but we need to start to realize we're healing this great body, this consciousness. It belongs to us, each and every one of us. It's as much mine as it is yours. The whole consciousness, and in fact, the way I experience it is who I am. And I can shift my paradigm and I can awaken that wisdom inside me, even very silently, and hold that space on the earth and open up communication from the galactic center and start to begin to, in the human body, it's the spinal column from the pineal gland all the way down to the root. We're making contact from the root chakra all the way up to the pineal gland and connecting in the heart and opening universal love. The human body is made in the image of God. It's made in the image of creation. Within us, we have the ability to link the above and the below and to bring in great miracles. All right, so I said it's kind of like how Western medicine was about just isolating the part and focusing on the part, which doesn't bring. Now we're much, much more advanced in looking into, a more holistic approach. It's very necessary to be able to do acute work and to go in to a system and isolate something and do work. It's not to put that out, but we also need to remember the feminine. The feminine is about the entire body. The masculine is a laser focus, being able to get really specific. But the feminine is the atmosphere, it's space, it's the environment, it's the aura of the whole being. The feminine rules the aura of the entire being, and we need to be aware of the entire being. It's the mother principle. And with the North Node in Cancer, it's going to be the North Node in Cancer. So the North Node went from a fire sign, Leo, into a water sign, Cancer. Jupiter went from a water sign, Scorpio, now into a fire sign. So we see that alchemical relationship of fire and water, how they're either working together. Jupiter is trine the North Node right now. It's also trine Chiron in Chiron's in Pisces. So it's a beautiful trine happening. All right. We're programmed to not see the truth. Just want to bring that home today. All right. We'll get into why this is the end of deception. The reason that this is the end of deception is because of the activity we're going to see. Now, this doesn't mean that in the next year and a half, it's a done deal. It doesn't mean that, but that's good. About the time of Adam and Eve, I might address that too. Yeah, the ego, our ego. Okay, so Sagittarius is about tempering the ego. The archetype in the archetypes, in the sacred archetypes, is temperance or art, and it refers to the great art of alchemy. It's about purification of the ego. And so what I wanted to say is that the way we can end deception, this is really the message around ending deception. We will see things moving very rapidly. In fact, Sagittarius or Jupiter's at 0 degrees right now. I can feel it already. I didn't know if I could do this video today, and every bit of this, like, galactic center energy was coming through me and said, no, you have to connect today. There really is a portal happening on earth at 11:11. And even if you watch this video after 11:11, it's going to just kind of tune you in. These energies are going to be active all year. But this is how we do it. This is how we do it. We heal deception in our own life. We heal betrayal in our own life. We have to stop deceiving ourselves and stop deceiving those who we love. And so it's a big order. The human ego lies about 90% of the time without realizing it's programmed to lie. And so, in other words, we constantly cover things up, sort of adjust the truth. We make it serve us so that we can carry on with activities instead of questioning them, or have truthful conversations with people, or really own up and look at our own. It's for our protection. It's like if we could see the whole truth about ourselves, it might be too much. And so everything is kind of veiled but as we go into the mystery of our own self, we slowly remove things. We peel back the layers of the onion, and it's like, okay, I'm ready for this layer. Okay, I process it, I look at it. If you get it all at once, it can be too much. And that's why the mystery teachings were always reserved for a very sacred environment, because when we talk about the mystery teachings, we're talking about the light of lights. We're talking about holding the sacred fire of the Divine Mother, and that fire will not tolerate, it can't resonate with anything that's not in purity and divine love. And so if we were to expose ourselves to that full truth, it would be too much of a shock to our system. And we all get those kinds of jolts and shocks sometime when something big comes, or when we really deceive ourselves and the veil is lifted and we have to deal with it, and it's traumatizing. And sometimes we have to see it in another to realize it about ourselves. But this is a time I recommend during this time of Sagittarius, hosting the planet Jupiter, its ruler, to really allow the alchemy to happen, allow yourself to go through the fire of purification. It's only the ego. The ego you won't miss it as it goes. We hold on to it, but it's going to regenerate into something else. It's going to birth a new part of ourself that's still spontaneous, still creative, still has a sexual drive, a sexual force, still wants to explore new lands and be creative like we've come to do as humans, but just in a more truthful way, and a more way that serves the great family of the human race. So it's really about healing deception and also betrayal. There's a lot of betrayal on the earth, and I know it from my own life. I know it from my own lessons, and I know it from working with many people, that the root of many problems and sorrows and pains in people's lives is betrayal. We betray each other. We don't value the human connection, which is so important. We came here to be human. We came here to love each other. We came here to accept each other's differences, and to give each other a little bit of space to go through our process of learning. We betray each other, and surprisingly, women betray each other in a way that is holding back consciousness of humanity, because the feminine principle, we all have it, all men and women have it, but women, and I've done a few podcasts about this that are in the archives on this channel, about competition and different things that happen among women. But women can play a really powerful role in stopping the betrayal of woman to woman. It is really an important part of healing right now. And um, when I always say, when women stop betraying each other, the human race is going to advance so fast, because we create a platform for consciousness by how we treat each other. And if we aren't respecting each other, um, it's a problem. It's a problem, because we're the feminine creative principle, but we birth the race. That being said, what I want to say is that the North Node in Cancer, there was something that was going to come in. Um, oh, it just slipped away. It was there. It's going to come back. We need to look for that at all costs. We need it. We have fear. There's fear around it because we're afraid something will be taken, or that someone will take what we have. It happens all the time too. But when we get the wisdom and maturity to understand that, we will become better mothers and better birthers and better friends, better lovers, better partners. It's not to say men are off the hook. Men are a little like, and I'm not trying to stereotype here, but what I've noticed, the male principle, let's not say men, but the masculine principle can handle the rub a little more. It's not as vicious. The feminine, the shadow of the feminine can be absolutely shadowy, lilithy, and vicious. Men tend to be able to knock each other around a little bit and have a beer with each other at happy hour. They can like do business with each other, not get all emotional about it, reject each other, partner with each other, compete with each other, and then meet at happy hour. I used to see it all the time when I lived in New York City. And so they may be competitors from 9 to 5, but after they reunite as human beings, they have the ability to do that. Now, there's many reasons for that, but we're working it out. We're balancing. Sagittarius is about balancing the light and the dark, both forces. And so we're doing this, but I wanted to bring in the feminine principle. Oh, there's so many great comments. I'm going to go back and take a look at them. That being said, okay, this is what I want to talk about. This is the meditation part of this live stream. I encourage you to ask questions. And Sagittarius, in the alchemy of Sagittarius, we have to see unity. That is the wisdom and initiation of Sagittarius, is to understand that when you look at another human being, you're looking at part of yourself. And so the meditation for today, which I've called Light Body Spirit, which comes out of Light Body Yoga and some of the work that I've really been focusing on and want to build, because I want to starting these videos with this idea. And this is the idea that came to me really strong, and I saw it. And when I could see something so clearly, I know that it's about to birth. The new paradigm that I'm asking all of you to contemplate and maybe activate within yourself is the paradigm of seeing each other as the spirit, as the human being and the life force. What this means is that we see beyond politics. We see beyond right and left. We see beyond race. We see beyond religion. We see beyond views. We have to see beyond the very divisive, because we have to realize everyone has their views for a reason. The traumas they've suffered, the karma they've taken on, everyone's operating the best they can under the knowledge that they have. Sagittarius rules knowledge. So we need to meet above in the mysteries. You go above to a higher vantage point. You go into the sun. The sun is the spirit. When we start to address each other as human beings, we see beyond all the things that divide us. We see beyond, as I mentioned, race. I'm talking, you need to see the person that you can't stand their views the most. And if you meet them in the hallway, when you're out in a public place, or if you meet them at the grocery store, or if you meet them in a restaurant, to be able to see the humanity in people, that is the only way that I'm shown that this can heal. We can fight each other until the cows come home. It will be an endless ride on that wheel. The wheel is the peripheral. It's not until we go and Jupiter, listen to this correspondence. Jupiter rules the wheel. It rules the wheel of fortune and the 4 elements, and it rules wealth and material abundance and fertility through that wheel and through knowing how to use it. When we look at the wheel, we look at the center. The nucleus is the sun. Jupiter is teaching us by the fiery spirit of Sagittarius, go into the sun, go into the spirit, and every human being could be your ally. Everyone could be your ally. And I'm just going to share some of my own examples. Oh, do we have? Great. That's awesome. So when you see somebody who lives in a different way than you do, or who is different, practice kindness. Practice letting your filter let down. Don't worry that you need to uphold the self-righteous viewpoint on the planet that you have. We each have our own strong, self-righteous, ego-connected viewpoint. And we feel like we're entitled to go around enforcing that viewpoint. And how often in life do we go a few years believing something and then we realize it was no good? We're on to the next thing, then we realize it's no good. We're on to, as you get older, I can know in my own life, There's been a core truth that's followed me, but many of the things that I thought to be true turned out to not be true. Many of the ideologies that I was really interested in no longer really serve where I'm at with understanding the unity of the human consciousness and the human race. So yeah, it's nice to see people's vulnerability. It's also nice to have discernment and know who's who. There's a time to know, absolutely, there's a time to know who's your enemy and who's your friend. You've got to. But in our day-to-day life, this is about the day-to-day life. In the day-to-day, we see hundreds of people that we meet on the street, that we meet in public places. A smile, eye contact, a good wish sent through the heart, through the mind can ignite the human race. This is how we're going to do it. I see it so clearly. We're going to light the hearts of humanity and watch how fast some of these divisive polarities are neutralized. There are certain things that will always be divided on, but let's say your abortion is a big one, especially with women. It's huge. I barely mentioned something about um, feminine reproductive rights in one of the videos in the Cosmic Mother, and a few people took it the wrong way, and wow, it can trigger people so deeply, and that's okay. It's that way for a reason, but we need to even be able to see beyond things that divide us in that way, because we need to understand we've all had many lifetimes where we were on all sides of issues. We've played the dark and the light many times. And so oftentimes the person who you think is the darkest, when the veil is lifted, may turn out to be an angel or a saint. The person who you've bowed to as a guru or a teacher may turn out to be one of the ones who's deceiving people. And it doesn't even matter, but we just need to look beyond some of those stereotypes. That being said, I'm going to pull up these questions, see if there's anything big. Heart is on fire. Nice. Um, Listening, yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Listening is huge. Listening is the receptive quality. By listening, we receive and we give. We create by listening. This is a question, what might be a good way to ground our moral compasses such that we can confidently and compassionately know how to direct one's intentions? Oh, I think you just have to follow your heart. You have to follow your heart. This is the thing that Sagittarius is verification. That means whatever you do, you're going to get feedback if it's serving you or not. It's verification by fire of our thoughts, of our words. It rules publishing, so it rules the words we put into the world, and our actions. It's the archer. Remember, Sagittarius is wanting to hit the target, so it's one of the most active signs, like Pisces and or like Aries and also Leo, but it's got that forge forward kind of energy. Don't be afraid to move forward, but really ask yourself the questions. What would I do if I was in this person's position? Always, if what you're doing involves another person, ask yourself, what would I want? If I was that person, what would I want? And we've talked about that a lot. Try to treat people the way you want to be treated, even if someone's done something wrong. Give them the benefit of the doubt or the grace and the beauty that you would hope someone might give you, to have a second chance if you make a mistake. To direct one's intentions, Lucas, yeah, feel what's burning inside you and ask your inner guidance. Sagittarius works through the Hierophant as well, the inner teacher, because 14 is the archetype of Sagittarius. It reduces to 5, and 5 is the Hierophant. When we get close to our own inner teacher, and this is another thing to say, the Hierophant rules Taurus. Uranus is in Taurus. That's another thing I want to talk about. Uranus went back into Aries, but it will be going into Taurus for 7 years. So the earth changes are on. The earth changes are on. Ask your inner teacher how to be guided, and all you can do is do your best. If you make a mistake, correct it. Forgive yourself, forgive people, but be busy about it. Do it in a timely way. And I know in my work I have to do things like that all the time, and it gets easy the more you do it. Oh my God. Yeah, there's a lot of oh yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Oh my God. Yeah, I can't even, I'm not even going to say names here, but yeah. Yes. So oh, and I recognize you. I recognize your name. Hi. Okay. So this is what I want to say. While Jupiter's in Sagittarius, it's going to square Neptune in Pisces. So Yeah, yeah, finish your book, do it. Oh, there's a lot of energy for writing right now and speaking, but remember, what you put into the collective will also be tempered by the fire of the galactic center. Jupiter will square Neptune while Jupiter moves through Sagittarius. Neptune is in Pisces. I didn't look at exactly when that will happen. That is going to be an explosion of illusions, deception, also idealism and spiritual wisdom all at once. When Jupiter squares, first of all, Pisces, Neptune. Oh, this is even better. Neptune will be in its own house of Pisces. Jupiter will be in its own house of Sagittarius. That means they're amplified. They're extra, extra powerful there. We're going to get the planet and the sign that represents the underbelly and the hidden and the dark layers of abuse is found in Pisces in the victim. Neptune can be the ideal, it can be the light, the pure light, and it can also be the deception and the illusion. It will square Jupiter. Jupiter's going to be on fire in its own sign, and there's going to be a period of reckoning. There's going to be a period of awakening that comes at that time. What else will Jupiter? It will conjunct the galactic center. That's big. I don't know the exact date, but down the road we'll talk about that. And yeah, all this is happening while the North Node is in Cancer and while Uranus is in Taurus. All right, so if anybody wants to put up a question right now, I'll go for a couple more minutes. I went for a while today. I actually need to close down so that the video doesn't get stuck. Go past politics right now. Unite in the heart. It's going to be hip in 2019 to lay things down, because even though the fear tells us that, oh God, I have to fight for this, I have to fight for this. If you don't make allies and ignite love in the human race, we're just going to be stuck in that endless political cycle. Unite with, I challenge everybody in this podcast, and from this day forward, that anyone that comes to this channel, I challenge you to go beyond politics, to reach out and have it be hip to be friends with someone who's different than you, or who has completely different beliefs, and see where you can unite, see where you can find your humanity. That being said, I'm going to close down, and I hope, it's 11:11. Hold space today. If you saw this live, it's so nice to see all of you. And that's it. Come back and leave comments, and I'll go back and forth with you if there's anything that you'd like to say. That being said, I'll see you next week for the Gemini full moon video just before Thanksgiving. And so many, many blessings. Namaste.